Okay. So one of the things that I need you to remember and to have foremost in your minds is the idea that the course, the entire course, has focused on one main thing. If you think about it, everything comes under this. It has focused on how classrooms could be more like the world outside. And it has focused on the fact that it's not about language, but it's about using language. Okay? That's been the core concept in the course. Everything fits under that concept. So if you're trying to have a kind of schematic cabinet in your minds, have that in the cabinet, okay? The first cabinet, looking at the world outside and trying to fit what we do in the classroom to match what the real life situation is. And secondly, that we're not focused on simply learning the mechanics of language, the grammar, the structure in isolation, but our focus is on how to use language, okay? Which will incorporate all of those, but at the same time, not alienate students from the authentic use of the language. Everything clear there? I'm gonna keep asking you that several times, so just get used to it and yes and no me. Okay, Lyra, we're good to go? Lyra, you hearing me?
Yes. Okay.
All right, so let's start. We have 3 people present, Kira, Lyra, Sashana. You're gonna throw out answers based on where you are, so keep your mics open for now. And of course, whoever starts speaking first, then we'll move there, just because I don't want to be picking on people to speak at this point. So we're looking at things that you need to know, all right? What is language and how is it connected to communication? Can we think of that and can we get across an opinion on that based, of course, on what you've learned? What is language and how is it connected to communication? And the place is sad. That's not bad. Any takers?
Okay, I could try.
Sure.
I would say that probably, from what I understood, language is the oral means, by which 2 individuals send messages to each other.
Okay, why oral?
Okay. Well, I shouldn't say oral, I should say oral. When I think about language, I guess I'm thinking about speaking. That's why I'm saying oral. But when we deal with communication, it has to deal with more than just oral.
Definitely.
Because it's written, it's signals, it's all of these things. Body language, gestures.
Excellent. Yes. So it is all of those things. Sonia has just come in. Welcome. So it is all of those things. So that's all I would change about what you said, Leroy, is that clearly I wouldn't start by just saying an oral means, but
okay.
Looking at any means of sending messages.
Okay.
And feedback, yeah? So using the language to do that, so that's fine. Communicating an idea. Going back to that diagram you all received on the sender and the receiver and the feedback, yeah, and the message, the context surrounding it, so you can take a glance at that diagram and try to use that to help you to remember. But yes, so you're spot on, apart from that overall part. Anybody else wants to say anything or add anything to that? Or can we move from that? How do we connect language to communication then? I mean, you've basically said, you've said parts of it, but let's get very specific. How is language connected to communication?
Because language is the way we what we use to bring about our thoughts, our emotions.
Yes. So it's what we use to send the messages. Agree?
Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. So Sean, are we good, right? Yes. Okay. All right. Forget the whole heap of text, but I was just trying to put everything on one screen. So when looking at language and communication, just ensuring Human language, this is all stuff you already have. I'm just pulling. Looks at the use of linguistic forms as the basis of interpersonal and social communication. Okay? So when you think of human language, it's looking at the way things like words and the structures of sentences and the use of punctuation, how things are put together in order to facilitate interpersonal and social communication. All right? So all of this, the systems are put together, and the system of units simply speak about word, part of the sentence, what a phrase is, that kind of thing. All of these are put together in order to ensure that meaningful communication takes place. All right? And then the communication aspect of it is that communication occurs now within a particular context, something that we have dealt with over and over in the course. And that context is often used to help to determine whether or not the communicative event is going to be a success or a failure. Because we can have all the right structures, but if we don't bear in mind or take into consideration the context within which the language event is occurring, the communicative event is occurring, then we may miss the mark, and we may not actually end up communicating. Okay? And we've been through that as well. We looked at the elevator, the different people in there. We looked at what is right to say in a situation, you know, going to somebody's house, formal, informal, different types of registers that you use depending. We looked at registers that are associated with professions, you know, jargons that you would use that are subject related, etc. Okay, so all of those fit in there. All right, so in your own words, and you can just jot this down quickly, and then we'll look at what you have. In your own words, explain the difference between language structure and language use, and suggest how each is viewed in the modern or contemporary language classroom. So you're going to look at the difference between language structure, that should be hyphenated by the way, language structure and language use, and suggest how each is viewed in the modern or contemporary language classroom. 2 minutes for that, because that's supposed to just flow out of you like Dunn's River. All right, let's come back together. Are you finished writing, or you need another minute?
1 more minute.
Okay, 1 more minute. All right, let's go. I'm gonna go with session one first. And find you. Okay. Language structure. Language structure has to do with the morphology, the arrangement of words in your sentences, grammar, and so on. Language use has to do with the functions of language, what we use it to do, communication, and to get material things. I think
Get things done. To get things done.
5 points
Yes.
here: representative, imaginative,
Heuristic.
interactive, and heuristic. Yeah. So that's that. How each is in modern or contemporary language classroom. All right, so modern classrooms now, like we're learning the CLT approach, we're going more towards language use than language structure, how to get, how to communicate effectively to bring across your meaning. So we're not focused so much on grammar and tense.
In isolation, right.
But we're going more of allowing persons to interact more and, you know, saying.
So we learn it. We learn the structures through the use of it. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Sonia, can you go?
Yeah, essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
Language use language really is to convey thoughts, ideas, use to carry out action. It more looks at, you know, the purposive use of language.
Right.
Do something, make something happen.
Right.
And of course, I might not be as anything speak about the Hines and Michael Halley, based on what they propose in terms of the functional use of language, would more refer to them.
So the models that they offer on language. Yeah.
I mean, the structure now would be more concerned with syntax, styles of speech,
Good.
types of speech,
Yes.
and
Grammar mechanics.
Grammar, right? Grammar most important.
Mhm.
But the modern day classroom would be more like the functional use of language, over the structure of the
Right.
language.
Yes.
To create meaning.
Certainly. Good. All right. Kira?
Yes. In a modern language classroom, there's more emphasis placed on how we use language and what we use it for. Like it has to be functional. It has to serve a purpose. And although there is some there's teaching of language structure, but at the expense of language use. So there's more focus on language use as opposed to language structure.
Right. Okay. Yep, that's fine. All right. Welcome, Ashley. All right. Lero?
Language structure refers to the grammar of a language.
Yes.
It is the focus of a traditional English classroom,
Right.
since their goal was to achieve grammatical competence.
Right.
As compared to language use, which focuses mainly on teaching language for interaction,
Right.
so that it can be utilized for successful communication. And I have, I think it's Himes, I can't even remember, argues that this achieves communicative competence.
Yes.
Which is Himes, okay, which is mainly the focus of contemporary classrooms.
Right. And Himes is a communicative competence is often connected with Himes, yes.
Okay.
That's great. Welcome, Vernon. Welcome, Ashley. All right, so we'll continue from there. I think everybody has that part then. I think, Kira, I'm thinking of some of the questions you posed in your email to me as well. If you look at what I'm doing, the bottom line is if you're grounded in these ideas, then you pretty much respond to everything out of this kind of a framework. You just have to ensure that this framework is clearly understood. All right, let's continue. So I think you've said it already. The question was how might Del Himes's and Michael Halliday's language models positively influence pedagogy in the language classroom, in a Caribbean language classroom. And you kind of touched on it automatically with the Himes, if you think of the speaking acronym, and Himes and communicative competence, and see how he focuses again on the idea of this social setting, this idea that there's an audience, there's a setting, there's a context which frames the way that we speak, and he helps. So by looking at his acronym, we're able to really identify what is happening in that communicative event, yes, where language is being used. And the same thing with when you look at Michael Halliday,
and you look at the different functions that he offers of language, don't feel that you need to get too worked up about remembering each one. You're not going to be, well, I'm certainly not requiring you for this exam to look at each of them. But remember the idea of the transactional, the poetic, the expressive, just the idea of going back over them to understand what principles apply to the classroom. So once you're studying Hines and Halliday, it's not always the case, but this is the case this time. So I'm being very specific. So whereas students would have had to recall the acronym or recall the model, the focus for you all this time is not on recalling every single aspect of each model, but on looking at how they can enhance pedagogy. That's the bottom line. If you can have just some benefits, 1 to 3 for each, that this is how Halliday can enhance pedagogy in the classroom, this is how Himes can enhance pedagogy in the classroom, then you're good to go. Okay? All right, let's see how we do with this question now. If I ask you to list the features, something that, to be honest, we keep coming back to practically every session, depending on our focus, but we tend to mention quite a number of them over and over in our explanations, in our discussions. Can we list features of the CLT classroom? This is going to be vital if you're thinking. You must know the features and you must have an understanding of the CLT approach clearly because it frames the course. So can we throw out any?
Functional.
All right, so I'll just go one to one because everybody's so excited to go. They're excited to go first. Okay, so Lyra, you're saying functional. Sashana, and then Ashley. Sashana? Task oriented. Ashley? Interactive. Okay, Kira?
The use of authentic material.
Right, use of authentic material. Where am I focused? Oh, the camera's the wrong way. Sorry, guys. Sonia?
I was about to say meaningful.
Right, must be meaningful and purposeful will go together. So once you say purposeful, always attach meaningful. Don't see them as separate, okay? Purposeful and meaningful will go together, but interactive is different, yeah? Okay, Vernon, can I hear from you? Not sure if I can.
I'm here.
Yes, can I get a feature from you that hasn't been mentioned before? Or you need some time to catch up? Okay. All right. So let's just look through them together, everybody. Look at the different ones that are here. You have this already in your PowerPoint. You have all of this. Yes, collaborative will come into group work, yeah? Same thing. Collaborative learning, group work, same thing. All right? So features of the CLT classroom, we have group work, we have authentic materials, we have real life contexts, task-oriented, purposeful and meaningful, interactive, all you've said already. Instruction is centered on communicative competence. So when I'm instructing the students, I'm instructing them based on me needing them to achieve communicative competence instead of me trying to get them to achieve grammatical competence. There's a difference, okay? Oral work is present. Yes, do I have a question? Lyra, you had a question, or Kira, anybody? No? Okay. Sense of audience, must have that. One of the major features of CLT is to always have a sense of audience. Whatever you give the student, they must always have a sense of audience, okay? And of course, taking the classroom into the community and taking the community into the classroom.
Dr. Spencer, excuse me, please. When you say sense of audience, can you further break that down?
Sure.
What exactly?
So, whatever task you give them, they have to know to whom they're writing, to whom they're speaking, and it must be real. So that's why we looked at the newspaper, for example, and we know that the general public would be the audience for the newspaper, but then there's a section for teens, and they know they're writing to teens. There are times when we're the audience as teachers, we're their audience, okay? For journal writing, they are their audience, okay? So that's fine. For journal writing, I know I am the audience for my journal, okay? I'm not expecting anybody else to read it. So every task really needs to have connected to it a sense of audience, a target audience. Is that clearer? Yeah, okay. So classroom into community and community into classroom is dealing with us trying to have that authenticity and that real life context. So classroom into community can be a situation where we have them on field trips, we have them taking surveys in their school, questionnaires, using it, going out, okay? And community into classrooms when we have people coming in, okay? So it could be a grandmother and you want to talk about the old days and the child carries the grandmother. You may have a fireman come in, you may have a resource, person come in, somebody from media, whatever it is that they tend to be interested in, and perhaps whatever is related to the topic of focus that, that you have for that particular lesson or a unit, for example, okay? So once you have an idea of these, of course, that would help and you're good to go. Let's reflect a little on some scenarios. All right, so in classroom A, we have a situation here. Jennifer is in the 9th grade. She's ready to submit her completed essay, but she's nervous. All she can think about at this point is her anticipated grade. Is she going to get an A? She tried very hard on her last paper, but she only received a C. Matthew's in the same class, but he's not as nervous as Jennifer because he's discouraged and he's just totally given up. He really doesn't care at this point. His last 3 papers have received C's. So, whatever. He thinks that this teacher has already pegged him as a C student. So 2 different situations, same class, 2 different attitudes and responses, okay? In classroom B, Tanya is in 9th grade. She's submitting a completed essay. However, her main concern is not her grade, which she knows she will have an opportunity to improve. Her instructor actually uses portfolios, which we know is a form of alternative assessment, right? So though she will receive a grade on her paper, she will actually be allowed to or permitted to revise her paper so that the teacher's suggestions come in, right? And then she will place her revised version in her portfolio. It does happen.
You
Yes.
have to spend the classroom A and classroom B is like Connecticut. So they have 15 students and teachers.
Is that true, Ashley?
Yes, that's Spencer.
Where,
Because
Ashley?
the ministry divide English language and English as 2 different disciplines. A teacher cannot be expected to mark as much as they're.
But it depends, because not everything in the portfolio has to be marked by you. We looked at it when we looked at alternative assessment.
And most teachers,
Yes.
minimum have a common 20 students.
Yes.
Times 40 assignments at what I teach.
But aren't you marked? So
40 assignments. 40 exams.
No, that's fine. But a part of it actually is, and the scrutiny is good, but a part of it is that our schools need to look at whether what they're doing is realistic. That's one. And 2, because it does work. It does work in particular classrooms. I've seen it work, and not in nice, wonderful atmosphere classrooms either. Okay, in classrooms that lack serious resources. The thing is, we are marking anyway. We're marking like crazy all the time. The issue is, are you going to make that portfolio assignment? Something out of that needs to go on the report card. Something out of that needs to be offered as a part of the piece. So it depends. Can you merge what you're expected to do by your HOD or expected to do by the school's curriculum? Can you merge that with a portfolio assessment piece? So they have to write an essay, but can you give the opportunity for them to write that essay and have a draft first, discuss it with their peers, come back to you, and then submit the essay? Can you? The oxen. Can you?
I don't know. It's just frustrating.
Because sometimes it's organization.
No, I just feel like English teachers is a bad rap. Because I think that
They do.
I think that when, as opposed to like a math teacher, where it takes 15 years to mark one,
Oh,
it takes 10 minutes to mark a paper versus an English teacher who is expected to mark, and not only just mark, but correct and write useful comments. And I think it's unfair. It's unfair for English teachers to teach well. Sorry, in terms of schools, they're going to teach both. I think it's completely unfair. But also to have
Both subjects meaning language and literature.
Yeah.
Well, that.
And to have, for their 2 separate subjects.
Yeah, but we don't treat it that way, unfortunately.
And the commission will provide resources to hire another teacher. And to have 4 students in your class.
Yep.
Times 4.
Yep. No, as I said, I'm not fighting that at all. I do believe portfolios can work. I think, yeah, no, I know. I hear what you're saying.
Unless you do that draft process, unless you do that,
it doesn't get very far.
Kids don't learn. You know, and might as well just multiple choice and be done.
Which is so what really needs changing is how we're approaching it. That's basically, yeah. Okay, so no, and showing this is to suggest clearly, not just suggest, as you just said a while ago. The reality is that student response is different according to what is done in B as opposed to A. Okay, you see the type of response we're getting in A. All right, the students are hesitant, they're frustrated, they're not wanting to do X or Y. They end up hating the subject. And of course, in B, that's not the case. The child isn't overly concerned, because she knows she's going to get an opportunity to go back to and to view. All right.
This service starts children.
It is, and we have a lot to look at. Kira and Lyra, I'm not sure what situations you face in St. Lucia. I know, Lyra, you've already mentioned projects, yeah, where they have to do something similar to this. Yeah.
But we don't really give them feedback if they have the projects. We just give them the breakdown, what is required of them, and they submit it. But that sounds, classroom C sounds a lot like, well, B, that portfolio thing, like the SBA. To me, it sounds a lot like the SBAs.
Feedback on that. No, they don't. I think they have been discussing it, actually. They've been discussing it based on teachers' complaints. You see, the bottom line is we have to understand, and take it from me, because I've been there with frustration, but the reality is that unless some of us just decide to stick out and keep at it and keep arguing about it and keep bringing it to the fore, the reality is the system just stays the same. Because there have been slight changes. There have been slight changes in the system. The CSEC syllabus has changed, right? The syllabus itself, the exam is another issue. But the syllabus has changed if you look at it over a period of time, which would have started from the 1970s, okay? It has changed in orientation because you have people like Beverly Brand who would have sat on panels. She was a lecturer here, for example, okay? So there's room for change. The issue is, no. One of the issues is, and I don't want to get too much into this, right? Because we do have, no, that's fine. But one of the issues is also, Ashley, and I'm throwing it out, that teachers don't write.
Yeah.
We're not writing. We're not getting it out. If you go to America and Britain, things change because the teachers are constantly writing articles and saying, this is not working. This is what is working. Change, you understand? So what happens, and the ministry will say it, and unfortunately it's a favorite excuse. You go to a meeting and something is being discussed, and from my point of view as lecturer, you will say, well, this needs to happen and that. But then in the classroom, the same teachers who are complaining will fill out questionnaires and stuff that in no way reflect the complaints that they're giving. Are you with me? And so they're saying, no, but this is working. And guess what? Students are performing. They're getting results. All these ones, okay? Nobody's looking at, well, what do the ones mean and that kind of thing. So there are lots of issues with it, but the bottom line is we do have to have an idea of what really works, and we do have to keep pushing for that. If not, we might as well, as they would say, lock shop and try to figure, no, because it makes it very purposeless for me, certainly, if I'm going through the same motions time and again with no hope of change. Yeah. Okay. All right. Just reminding you quickly, because I think you don't need to get into all of these in particular, but you do need to have a sense of what communicative competence is dealing with. Okay. So we're looking at 4 things. Again, you have all of these: grammatical competence, discourse competence, sociolinguistic competence, and strategic competence. Okay. And each of them, when you read over, each of them really is dealing with an aspect of being able to communicate, okay? So it's not that structure is totally out, because grammatical competence is important. I have to know that I don't say the dogs is, all right? That's part of communicative competence. But you realize that communicative competence is made up of 4 strands and not just 1. So because I know that the dogs are as opposed to the dog is, doesn't make me communicatively competent. I also have to know discourse. In what situation do I now use this aspect of the language? Okay. Is it chien? Is it chien in French? Right. Not so bad. Okay. Chien. Okay. Well, yeah, I know I learned as chien, but it would be different, I guess, according to the territories as well. But yeah, so chien, whichever one. The point is, I recognize in France that I cannot be talking about the dog, the dog, the dog. I have to change the way that dog is. Not only that, I hope I don't offend anybody when I'm saying this, so please, it's not meant for offense, but I'm thinking of the situation because it's very much in my mind. So my husband is going to China, and the only thing my son could think about to tell him is don't eat any dogs, okay? Now, somehow at 5 years old, he learned, somebody said something to him about China and dogs, right? And then my daughter types in and says, well, no frog legs either, okay? So it's just not a conversation I've had with them, but clearly what I'm saying is that the talk about dogs in one situation can be about the dog that's barking inside or outside of your house, and the talk about dogs in another situation could be a meal talk. Are you with me? So you have to appropriate, you have to know which one. What are you talking about? How do I use it in this context? Okay, I clearly don't put a leash on my meal. And so to say that in a communicative event would be problematic, okay? Sociolinguistically, you're looking at the way in which the word operates in a social situation, okay? So we've looked at this already. If you go to the market, you speak one way, yeah? But if you're going into the meeting with the president of the United States, you might speak another way, even though you realize that he totally just joined that situation up by I'm not sure, Kira and Lyra, if you heard Obama's speech or if you heard all the rave about it, how he started, yeah? So when you start with, what? Greetings massive. We're all going Jamaica. So he
Massive.
pulled it, which was excellent. I'm telling you, he's very good with archery, yeah? But he pulled in, what he did was immediately, he pulled in so many groups just by making that statement. Immediately he was hailed by the Rastafarian. Immediately he was accepted by the predominantly Creole speaker. And then he was also accepted by the public, the more intimate space of the academic public. Yeah? So he was pulled into all. So he used that very strategically. And then strategic competence is similar to that example you used about, I can't remember all of the example. We looked at it with tea when I was, when I go to your house for tea and I asked you something about salt. I said,
Salt and pepper.
So that's strategic competence. Trying to figure out how I am to say what I'm to say. Okay, how I'm to look at it. How am I to discuss it? I'm looking at Sashana's face. Is she looking upset? Because if she's looking upset, maybe I've offended her by my use of this word. So maybe I want to try another word another time. That's strategic competence. Able to feel out a situation and determine how to use the language. Again, you will not be required to look at these intimately or intricately. They're similar, except discourse is if I have to write a report, language use for the report is different from my language use. So, no, that's discourse. So there is a connection because that occurs in a context as well. Sociolinguistic is the social context around the language event. The discourse is what is expected of me. Yes, the type of language used based on. So if it's as I said, a sermon. You're expected to speak a certain way in a sermon. You're expecting language to work a certain way in a sermon. When I'm in class with you, something is expected of me. When I go in the car park, so it's just different uses of discourse at that point, different ways of using it. Okay, all right. Okay, so oral language communication. Lyra, you had asked me to go over this, and I'll go over it a bit, but it's a heavy topic. So I want I don't want to really just end up restating everything. The point of this class is to get you to look at the focus areas of each concept, okay? Now with oral language communication, what we're looking at is essentially talk, okay? Verbal use of language. We're looking at the function of language. Still, same ground that we had at the start of this revision session. We're still looking at that. We're looking at how language functions, but we're looking at it through talk. So in my classroom, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the activities that they're doing and how I'm enhancing their fluency, their oral abilities through these activities, but they're still CLT grounded. Okay? So a debate is an oral language communication activity. Still, it's still grounded in regular language use. It can be a situation, you can have a parliamentary debate, it could be grounded in the authentic real life context, but I'm talking. So the focus there is on the talk. Okay? Lyra, you good to go so far?
Yes.
All right, let me pull you a bit further. Okay, so again, focal points. Students become better users, more competent users of a language when their attention is focused on how we use the language orally in real life situations. So we're looking at authentic messages, just like we spoke about with the Spanish and French and how students are often taught with orals to address situations. You go into the bakery, what do you say to the baker? Okay, you go to the police station, what do you say? You have to file a report, what's likely to happen? We give them real situations, okay, because at the end of the situation, they should not just be simply learning about the language skill or the language element, but they should be able to go. Exactly. They go into the situation, they remember, oh, in class we did this. I know what to say. I can say this. Okay? So opportunities in your classroom, when you're looking at oral language communication, opportunities must be provided for students to practice using the language in a number of contexts, a variety of contexts that would reflect the use of language in the target culture. And the target culture, for us, it's not simply target culture, but also the use of standard English, because you know standard English is standard Jamaican English, standard St. Lucian English, we could go on and on, okay? Britain is not the target culture. Let me just clarify that, okay? In fact, some of the worst uses of English would be Britain. But, so Britain is not the target culture, but what target culture really means is a competent use of standard English. This is how the language would work in that situation. With me? Okay, so really, Lyra, as I said, which is why I started the way I did, if you understand the CLT and you understand what oral language means by itself, all you're doing is pulling the two together and focusing on how we talk, how we allow talk to occur in the classroom using a CLT approach. So students are in groups, okay? Students are having, are tasked, the classroom is task-oriented. Students are functioning in a purposeful way with an oral language activity. It's going somewhere, it means something. I'm not just saying, so, what is a noun? Okay, and what part of speech is X? All right, and okay, there's a little bit of a place for that, but I'm more asking them to use it, okay? So in this if they're looking at a particular article or you know, clipping, comic strip, whatever, you're asking them to speak about something with that comic strip. So the oral language communication is brought in through their commentary on the comic strip. It could be looking at abstract nouns. Look at how peanuts, in peanuts, abstract nouns are usually used quite a lot in that, you know, I don't know, peanuts. Okay, and then the peanuts comic strip, okay? And have them pull it out and do something with it and talk about it and debate, or they could have a panel discussion, or they could simply sit in groups and talk amongst themselves. News report, talk show, we could go on and on. Okay? All right. Lyra, any further questions on oral before I move?
No, I got it now.
Okay, good. All right. All right. Listening in the CLT classroom, it will not be on the exam, okay? But again, same foundation, same grounding, okay? You, when I say it won't be on the exam, you won't be expected to use it in looking at it as a particular topic, but as you know, you may always want to pull and refer to something or use something as an example, so it can always come up that way. The bottom line here is traditionally, it has been passive listening. What we encourage is active listening. Before I give you the passage, I tell you what you need to listen for. Okay, rather than giving you the passage and having given you the passage, after that, then I begin to question. Because by that time, the student is already out of the experience. Okay, or putting them in groups or pairs. Okay, and they have to interview each other. And they have to listen to particular pieces or listen out for particular pieces of information. Active listening. All right, that's the bottom line with functional use of listening in the CLT classroom. Writing, we did a whole lot on this. Okay, the bottom line again, functional use of writing. So give me some tasks quickly. I'm going to take one task from everybody. Give me a task quickly that you could have students write. I don't care what topic you come up with, that you could have students write that would demonstrate a functional view of writing in a language classroom. Giving you 30 seconds to think, and then I'm going to start with Lyra. Okay, so Lyra, let's go.
Lyra or Kira?
Lyra.
Okay. Writing, well, they could write, they could create a poster that they could stick in the school for the students.
Yep.
Around the, what's the name of the things? The coolers and the pipes with ways to wash your hands properly to avoid infections.
Great stuff. Lovely. All right. Vernon, are you with me?
Yes, I am.
Could you give me a task, a writing task that would reflect a kind of CLT orientation, not a kind of, a CLT orientation?
Descriptive writing, use active verbs to describe rainy day.
To describe what? Didn't hear that.
To describe, I'm thinking of something suited to grade 7 or grade 8, so it's used.
Right. So what context would those students find themselves in that perhaps would be natural for them to describe?
Rain or, for example, we had rather recent drought, so use active verbs to describe.
Okay. A recent storm or drought situation, yeah?
Right, and the effect on the, for example, a melon.
For example, a what?
The effect on a melon farm.
Yeah, that's where he is. Yeah. Okay. Yep. As long as the students would be able to associate with it, that's fine.
Yes,
all right, great. Thank you. Sonia's on the floor now. Yep.
Radio ad or a television commercial or PC to demonstrate their understanding of like persuasive language.
Okay, so depending on what you're teaching. So you want to get them to focus on, you don't want them to get too technical. So you want them to focus on a content area. So it's using the persuasive area, but on a particular topic, on an idea. Yeah, man. Okay, good. All right, Kira?
You could write an invitation to a party.
Okay, lovely, right? And very, very specific, student specific, yeah? Okay, Sashana, then Ashley.
That's a brochure.
On
AIDS awareness.
All right, okay, yeah. Safe, you can't get lost in that one, yeah? Ashley?
I left the ed
Yeah, how they were miraculously fixed. Yes, okay. All right, lovely. So I think you guys get the hang of that. So the bottom line, when you're looking at writing in the CLT classroom, you're thinking of audience, you're thinking of purpose, you're thinking of function, you're thinking of what would be interesting to the student, what is relevant in their situation, what would be interesting to them. Okay, and of course, you're still looking at your language skills. You're still looking at what they're going to be, learning. At the end of the day, they not only learn content, they learn structure, content, and they have an acquisition of just a moral understanding of what's happening around them. Okay, or how to respond to what's happening around them. Everybody's good to go. Vernon, that's fine with you?
Yes.
All right. Lee Rocky, are you good to go? Thumbs up is fine. All right. Okay. All right. Let's go. All right. So watch me now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 people. We have 5 things. All right. Ashley and Tashana, can I ask you to work together? I want each of you to take one of these. And this, of course, is helping me, and I'll explain why. As we come to understanding what the exam entails, you'll see why I'm doing all of this, okay? So, provide 4 contexts or situations wherein students would be able to learn and use the following. Kira, I'm going to ask you to take the simple past tense. Lyra, I'm going to ask you to take the present continuous tense. Vernon, I'm going to ask you to take abstract nouns. Sonia, I'm going to ask you to take adjectives. And Ashley and Sashana, I'm going to ask you to take the use of compound and complex sentences. Come up with a context or situation wherein students would be able to learn these things based on what you're teaching clearly. But it would be a natural use of this based on the context or the situation. Give you a few minutes for that. Instruction clear? Okay. All right, are we ready to go? Lira, we're good? Kira?
Yes.
All right. Okay, let's start with the simple past tense. Go ahead.
Okay, my first situation would be when they report on a field trip.
Mm-hmm.
You like to them out somewhere, I could use that.
Very good. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Or they talk about how they spend the vacation.
Right. Yeah.
Or an incident in the school. It could be a concert or an assembly or a fight.
Very good.
That happened in the school. Or they could talk about a movie they saw, see what happened in the movie.
Good. All right.
Etc.
So same report writing, but you've given a different context. Okay. All right. I only need one at this point. Okay. That's fine. Leroy, go ahead. Oh, is it Leroy? Yes, you're the present continuous, right? Yes.
Yeah, present continuous tense. I had students could create a dialogue that they could be having between friends about something that they are presently doing,
Good.
whether it's playing, whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's the key. All right, lovely. Vernon, abstract nouns.
Abstract nouns. All right. I have let me kind of put it in context.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of bikes down here, and from time to time, there are crashes, and all of this can be tragic.
Yeah.
So the context is your friend has just been involved in an accident, and you are at his bedside. Tell of your feelings.
Right.
As you look at him. So, for example, some of the words that I'm looking at here: confusion, grief,
good,
quality, clarity. So those would probably give them those words at law school and have them.
Good. Yes. And so you could just have a box and ask them to use those abstract nouns, right? And so the instruction would have abstract nouns. They would have done a little mini lesson on abstract nouns, and that would be perfect. And as you said, to help the lower, I'm glad you realized that to help the lower level students, instead of them coming up with the words themselves, you could have the words in a box. And an advanced level student, you could just let them come up with the words, yeah? Right. That's very good. Okay, Sonia, adjectives.
Ask them to look around the classroom for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Then let them close their eyes and describe the details. The person sitting next. So I won't tell them why they're looking around the classroom.
Okay. Keep them a little suspense.
After that, have them describe in detail, full details.
As much as they can remember, yes. Okay, Liran, Kira, and Farhan, did you hear that? No, you didn't hear that?
No.
Okay, can I ask you to talk a little louder? Okay, she's going to repeat.
I was just saying, I would ask the students to look around the class for 30 seconds. I will not tell them why. And then ask them to close their eyes and describe, in a sequential way, to describe the person sitting next to them. What are they wearing? Describe in full details.
Okay, so that's oral language. Hi, Lyra's baby. I'm sorry. That's oral. So that's oral language. Everybody, you're realizing, right? That's oral language, and it's descriptive writing. Okay, so you're focused on discourse. Just to go back, this would be discourse. So the descriptive writing bears a certain style. Okay, you're expected to use particular types of phrases or words. Okay, and the language style is supposed to be a certain way. So you're looking at descriptive writing, using the oral language because they're talking, right? And at the same time, they're utilizing the language element, the part of speech adjectives, correct?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move over to. Oh, go ahead. Yes.
I was just thinking first to ask the students to describe their ideal life 5 years after college. Make a presentation.
Yep, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. And of course, what we have to reinforce while you're giving them these things, which is why the language ends up being taught, the structure, is that while you're giving them these things, you're constantly saying, no, remember, we have to use adjectives in order to. And what does an adjective do? Right. As opposed to, good morning, everybody. What is an adjective? We all have done that, I'm sure, right? This is what it is. This is, okay, take down, complete page 95. You see the difference in the just the strategy, okay? All right. So it's Ashley and Sashana now.
So we are going to give them like a brochure.
Speak up,
a brochure to create on the topic this, and they're going to present.
Yes, good. Across the curriculum.
They're going to present this to like an audience at a, say, an environmental meeting or something like that. So they're going to, for the compound sentences now, because they're explaining a process, then they have to join sentence, get a step by step. So they'll tell you the step-by-step explanation of how that occurs and so on.
Very good. Excellent. One thing I'm going to change is the word meeting. It's not likely they'll be in an environmental meeting. So what is likely is that they do have student forums or they have clubs. Yes, 4-H clubs and all of those clubs. Very good. Yes. Everybody heard that? Lira, Kira, Vernon, you heard Sashana's?
Yes, sir.
Lovely. Okay, let's go back. Try and pull this down. All right. So everybody's going to do this now. I want you to examine the words below and jot down which of these traits of character you most dislike in a partner.
Huh?
Which of these traits you most dislike? You cannot write down all of them. Okay? Let's go with the first three. The first three that you most dislike in a partner. Put them in order based on how terribly you dislike them.
Really?
I know, which makes it a little harder, doesn't it? But ones that you cannot deal with at all, ever. Jot those down for me quickly. Hard, right?
Yeah.
No, just three of looking at all of them. 3 worst ones for you, the ones that you dislike the most, the 3 top worst ones, if you can get anything that looks like that. Yeah, just for the sake of time and so that you don't end up sitting there going through all kind of experiences in your head. Let me just psychologically rid you of that. Okay. All right. Ready? Guess who I'm going to start with, everybody?
Vernon.
Vernon! Starting with you. You're on the floor. Let's go. You have 3 top most dislike in a partner. Most dislikes in a partner. Something wrong with that. But anyway, we'll do that. Go ahead.
1, arrogance. 2, snobbishness.
What's 2? I didn't hear 2.
Snobbishness.
Snobbish, okay. And 3 what?
I'm looking at it. Hypocrisy. It's arrogance, snobbishness,
And what? You break up, so if you said something, we didn't hear it. Vernon? Are you okay? Oh, really? During the conversation? No, we're asking if you're okay, Vernon. Ashley's telling us that in one of the classes she had in Bermuda, a woman actually got down. Yeah, so please don't take it lightly when I ask if you're okay. I'm hearing a lot of shuffling. Just you saying somebody in one. Are you hearing? Vernon?
Yes, I'm hearing.
Okay. So what was the third one? What was the third one, Vernon?
It was hypocrisy.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, can I ask you to mute the mic for a little while? Lira, can we go to you, please?
Okay, firstly, dishonesty.
Mm-hmm.
Second, selfishness. And third, arrogance.
Okay. Interesting. All right, Sonia. Yeah, man. I reach you fast. Always keep the class on track. Mm-hmm.
Dishonesty.
Mm-hmm.
Then I come to the shyness.
Shyness. Is shyness there? Yes. Okay. Shyness and fruitful is not synonymous. Are not synonymous. Okay. All right. Kira.
Dishonesty, possessiveness, and arrogance.
Dishonesty, possessiveness,
arrogance.
All right. It's a little bit of a difference, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I think what she's talking about is more timidity than shyness. What frustrates you is timidity.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Everybody has it, right? Okay. Let's go, Sashana. Possessiveness, dishonesty. Hello, that was on your first list. Possessiveness, dishonesty. What was the last one? Selfishness. Okay. Interesting. Ashley.
Possessiveness, dishonesty, and hypocrisy.
We have some alike people up in here. I was just gonna say the woman and the possessiveness going hand in hand. All right, okay. Let's look at this now, people. Look at these words. Yep. Now look at these words, but think of it differently. Jot down which of these qualities is most important for you. We're sticking with the top three. Is most important for you in a partner. Top three. Is that a reaction to the word, sorry? Oh. Ready? You can tell the people that have it ready and they have no problem. I've already thought about it 50 times over. Okay. All right. You don't remember which one? Oh, that's a good point. I'll think about that for another class. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's reverse the roles. Sashana, start from me now.
Okay. Ambition, compassion.
Oh my goodness.
Ambition, compassion, no fighting. Ambition, compassion, and sensitivity. That's an interesting mix, yeah? Okay. That's interesting, actually. I wouldn't expect ambition to be in that group.
Really?
Just because she has compassion and sensitivity. Anyway, all right, Ashley.
Sincerity, generosity, and self-assurance.
Interesting. Okay, I wish a psychologist was in here right about now. All right. Sonia, let's go.
Ambition, compassion, and sincerity. Ambition and compassion.
Everybody watching the body language going on here, yeah? Okay. Okay. All right. Mira, let's go.
Okay, humility, patience, and compassion.
Patience and compassion. All right, Vernon.
Sincerity,
Yes.
passion, self-assurance.
Wow. Okay. And Kira.
Self-assurance, sincerity, and tolerance.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Good stuff. All right. Now you're not going to do this because it will take a while, but you can throw it out to me, not discuss it. We're gonna throw it out. All right. Having had all of those different traits in your mind, I want you to think about the personal characteristics, whether good or bad, that you would expect to find in the following people. Okay. So you have them fresh in your mind. You have both good and you have bad, okay? And your subconscious state has been interacting with them through what you've been doing. So let's go to a nurse. Kira, can I ask you to think of a nurse? What would you think of for the nurse?
Compassion.
Yeah, okay. Vernon, do you have another trait that you could connect to the nurse?
Sensitivity.
All right, good. All right. The chairman of a multinational company, Sonia.
Ambition.
Ambition. Okay. All right. An actor, Lyra. Go back. See some of them there.
Pride.
Come up with pride.
It has to be, yes.
You see pride, okay. And
Well, vanity, self-involved.
yes, okay. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, Shoshana, would you use a similar trait? Let's not use the word adjective for actor. I mean, you can think of your own.
Imaginative, that's it.
Imaginative, okay. All right, so different ways of seeing, okay. Ashley, a politician. Hypocritical. Brother, can you think of another trait for the politician?
That's our bad trait.
Well, no, you decide. I didn't say bad or good. You decide. Ashley said hypocritical. Can you think of another one?
How do I put it? Arrogance.
Okay. We're running away from the good trait. No good trait. Okay. All right. A teacher. Kira.
Patience.
Patience. Sonia. Compassionate for teacher. Shauna. Sensitive. Okay. All right, guys. Watch the drill. No, are you following me? I'm just scaffolding here, just pulling you through. All right. There's always a bigger purpose. Okay. Now, when we just spoken about, we haven't really looked at activities at this point, but when we've just gone through all of that, okay, is there a purpose you could establish for why I would ask students to do what I just asked you to do? What could possibly be a purpose that I might be looking at? Anybody? Ashley? Teaching adjectives. I could look at teaching adjectives. Yes, because I'm describing people. Everybody agree with that? Yes. So that could be, yes. Anything else? So I may be creating a biography. Very good. Okay. Somebody from St. Lucia?
To show students how to describe persons by characteristics, so not just physical traits, but
excellent. Very good. So inner qualities, yes, personality traits outside of physical. And Sonia, attached question to that. If I move into B gently through Kira's point, she's saying not just physical traits, but also inner qualities or personality traits. What area, what topic could I teach if I want to get across that specific point? I could, but give me another one. If I want to get students to stop giving physical traits only, but to look at personality and inner, something that every level, right? So story writing, right? Because their tendency, good. Their tendency is to focus on the physical, okay? And we're always saying, you know, pull out more, get us to know the character. And this can be at any level, primary, straight through, okay? Good. All right. Vernon, give me another topic apart from descriptive writing and short story writing that could be attached to all that I just had you all endure. Of course, they would not be talking about partners, guys.
English literature.
Sorry, go again, Vernon.
Character sketches, English literature.
Okay, all right. Let me just bring in what Ashley said. Ashley said, when I said they would not necessarily be talking about partners, Ashley said that's what I think. And that's the truth. So the difference is what? Am I allowed to take that to them, Ashley? Yeah. So I can't take that to them, can I? Friends. But what the point she's getting at, which is a very valid point, I have to contend with it in some way, often, is they may very well go off on that tangent, yes? But certainly we are not to introduce them to the concept of partners at this time of their lives, okay? There are other things. In other words, they're already there, really. CXC reports always complain about that. I know that everything is about sex and love and romance and death and graphic violence.
Green days on by the river.
Yes, Green Days by the river. Well, anyway, but okay. So let's go to C. Let's look at skills, ladies and gentlemen. Let's look at what the skills, if I could look at, let's ignore the word activities and just look at the tasks that I just asked you to do, okay? What skills would they hone? Sonia, you had started. So where are you? No, I'm looking for you literally with the camera. Okay, all right. So Sonia is talking about writing skills, yes? And of course, we already listed the various genres of writing. We're looking at the descriptive and the short story, okay? Right, okay? And if you look back at some of the things you were looking at earlier, you could see the use of past tense or the use of present tense, present continuous, etc. Okay? All right, I think we can move from that. Features of CLT. What features of CLT were in these tasks? That's one task. That's another task. That's another task. Very simple tasks. What features of CLT?
Interaction.
Good. Okay, so interactive, yes, definitely. There's no way that we can have a task like this and people will end up talking out loud. Okay? More than oral, because oral is in the unit, but it's not a. So when you say you mean oral work, oral communication tasks, that's what you mean, yeah? Good. Okay. All right. Anything else? So we have interactive, we have oral communication tasks or oral work, yes.
Real life context.
We have a real life context when we come here. Very good. Yes, and also with others because they have to look into their own lives and that kind of thing. Good. Anybody else? Kira?
Meaningful.
Meaningful, yes. Task oriented, yes. Just to look at what task oriented means. Task oriented means that it's not just a matter of them getting an instruction and doing an exercise. Task oriented means completing a particular task. Okay? As opposed to writing an essay all the time. All right? They're doing something with the language. And of course, that something is usually within an authentic real life situation. Okay. All right. So, you know, once we've reached this topic, we're slowly closing out. Okay. We looked at assessment in the CLT classroom, which was our final major topic, or right before writing projects. And I'm asking you now, how would you talk about, I'm going to give you two situations, and how would you talk about these two classrooms that I'm going to talk about based on your knowledge of the benefits of the CLT language classroom? So I'm going to give you two scenarios, two assessment scenarios, okay? And I want to see what you would say about these scenarios based on what you know are the benefits of a CLT language classroom. Am I being clear? Everybody understand what I'm asking? Okay. All right. So let's look at this. These are literally true situations, okay? And I'm looking at how you could help to transform these poorly designed writing assignments. So incident one, snow, what is it? So when my son Josh was in the 11th grade, he was asked to write a paper about snow. And that was all the information he was given. What's happening here? So culturally incorrect, yes, not relevant to context. No, true, not culturally relevant. Two, actually unfair because many kids don't know what snow is.
I would say
It's unfair because kids don't know what snow is. Yes, Kira?
Maybe that there is no sense of audience. Child doesn't know exactly who are you talking to about the slow.
Very good. Excellent. Glad that you're putting it in. Yes. There's no sense of audience. Who is it going to? It says write a paper. Is it an essay for the teacher to mark? Is it a report on the weather? Is it based on a tragic experience? How does that relate to Jamaica or St. Lucia or any Caribbean island? And we could go on there. Okay. Welcome, Perry. Let's. Lashana?
I was saying,
right. Okay. So if we remember what we looked at with assessment and even giving a paper to write, there were two main things that we said could go with the writing. Do you remember what it was or what they were? Rubric and checklist. Okay. So in a situation like this, which I'm saying it, Sashana, because I'm thinking of the exam. So when you say guidance, you want to pinpoint words that are going to show that you have a knowledge of the course and awareness of the course. So guidance is fine, but then you follow that up with explaining. Checklists would be perfect in that situation because they help to take the student, blah, 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 blah. Okay? All right? Anybody else? So we have a lack of audience here, lack of a sense of audience. We have a very purposeless assessment here. We don't know where it's going. We don't know what it's doing. Certainly not task-oriented. I'm not feeling like the student has anything to do. She doesn't know where to go with it. It's not culturally relevant, as Ashley said, and how that matters is because we're supposed to be causing things to be relevant to the student and also have a situation where they at least have a knowledge of what is happening, yes? The real life context, therefore, is separated from them because this is not a real life context. Had a scenario been given where they went abroad during Christmas and there's a weather report that explains what is happening and they were, asked to respond to something within that context, then that's different. Wouldn't, that would be quite different. All right. So just to give you an idea, everybody, of when questions come, this is a scenario, a very simple scenario. But if you recognize what I've been doing really for the whole session, is getting you to understand that every response you give must be CLT oriented and must demonstrate detailed, direct knowledge, not vague general knowledge. Because what separates you from the average teacher who has not done the course is the fact that you are explaining the exact details connected with the approach, as opposed to somebody who could just use common sense, really, to respond to some of the questions. Because you realize a lot of these questions, you can use common sense to respond to them. The difference is that you're trying to showcase your knowledge based on the course content. Okay, so be very specific about the terms. You notice most of the sessions I ask you to keep focused on key terms, keywords, things that keep coming up. That's one of the reasons that focus is important, because after a while you should really begin using them, okay, as the academic lingua, they would say, right? Okay, but it does help. Later on you'll see how it helps, especially those of you who continue to stay in academia and will begin to write your journal article. Anyway, incident 2, let's look at this. Knowing it by circling it. My daughter recently received an assignment where she was asked to circle all the conjunctions in a passage. She's in second form. I was wondering, could it have been, what? I don't know what I say. Could more have been asked of her? That's my reading back. So let me say that again. My daughter recently received an assignment where she was asked to circle all the conjunctions in a passage. She's in second form. I was wondering, could more have been asked of her? That second half, that first half shouldn't be there. Yeah. So what's happening here? Again, focus on CLT and what's not happening with CLT. All right, and use that to pull in when you're talking about what the problem is here. What's the problem here?
We don't see the functional use of the language. You just see language structure. So the child just knows, okay, what is a conjunction, this, that. Yep. But then you have to ask her, show how we can use conjunctions.
Brilliant. Yep, and that's fabulous because that's the core of what the problem is in that one. Anything else? Do we see any purposefulness? No, we're just carrying her. It's not that she can't identify, but she'd have to do something else after that. Pull them out and use them to do X, Y, or something else, but it shouldn't stop there, okay? And then notice that this parent seems to be concerned with level, with grade level, that the student is in second form, so there's an issue of relevance as well, okay? Is it suited to? Exactly. Is it suited to somebody in second form? Is it more for a primary audience, as you're saying? And in fact, even at a upper level primary audience, this would also be a simplistic activity to offer. Yeah? You up? Is that a smile on your face? Or are you disagreeing with what I'm saying?
No, I'm agreeing. I understood what's going on, yes.
Okay. All right. Any other comment before we move from this one? So we looked at the fact that it lacks function. It's focused on language as structure and not language as use. We looked at the fact that it's not relevant. We looked at the fact that it's it's not purposeful, but yes, and the grade level will be connected to the relevance. Okay. So again, you can offer your explanations and feel free to speak because your knowledge is not confined to this course. Clearly, you have experiential knowledge and you have knowledge from other courses. The important thing is to ensure that you utilize terms that will demonstrate your knowledge of the course content. Okay? Praises. You not listen to your answers. I've not had to prompt for any of these things really. So listen to your answers. So over the next week, I've given you one whole 3-hour session free, right? And there was, the question of whether I should have done that, and I'm saying it was needed. Yes, it was. Well, face-to-face students get it, don't they? And they have time to come. And of course, during this time, let me just say it since it has come up. During this time, you're free to email. Okay. Once a gap comes up, please, rather than sit down with a gap, just email. So you wrote that down too quickly. Okay. All right. So, how you feeling, Kira? How you feeling?
I have no idea.
Are you say that again, Kira?
I will know how I feel after the exam.
That's not fair. That's so not fair. Okay, that's exam oriented. I didn't want that. Okay, but bottom line, hopefully you all are seeing that once you ground yourself in an understanding of the features of the CLT and have an understanding of how those function in whatever, and know the different modes, the talk, the listening, the speaking, listening, reading, writing, okay? Viewing comes into it as another one as well. But once you have an idea, then you're good to go. Yes? Yeah. Yes, and there's a lot there.
And they took it to another level where they even have the students go to another country.
Yes. That's very common actually.
Experiential learning.
Yeah. Japan,
So they
French,
get into another
people do it.
country to function in those
Yep.
settings.
We just can't afford it. No, I'm serious. I mean, some schools do it here because, the students can afford it, but generally we can't afford it. But that would be excellent if you think of it. That would be excellent. Okay, you guys don't need to put the screen here. Okay, yes, but if you do YouTube CLT, I'm promising you. In fact, I don't even know if it's a good idea until after the exam, because before the exam you might begin to say, "Huh?"
Yes,
Yeah. There is a lot, but a good thing is, I encourage my teachers to use it once they're in the classroom and you're finished with the course, because it extends the course in a very practical way. And yeah, so that's good. Any other questions? Because I'm going to move now to the assignment and then the exam format. Yeah.
The cognitive, the psychomotor, and the affective.
Oh, those are objectives, yeah? Okay, so everybody heard that question?
Yes.
Okay, so just very quickly and very simply, the idea behind this is that for learning to be purposeful, really, and this is not trying to be CLT, this is just what constructivists say, you have to create objectives which fall into 3 domains. You can't just cater to one aspect of the student's learning process, okay? So cognitive deals with the thinking. When you have words like identify, evaluate, state, define, characterize, Those things are looking at the thinking processes. What is the student, the knowledge that the student is acquiring that is causing him or her to think about the subject matter in a particular way, okay? That's cognitive domain. The affective domain is my feelings, okay? So how are you getting the student to engage with, to feel things about, to be sensitized to particular issues, okay? So if you're looking at violence or crime and violence, if you're looking at power and the way people abuse power, if you're looking at things like that, and you were using persuasive writing, the cognitive would have dealt with things like writing the essay or constructing a point. That's the cognitive. The affective is going to look at things that will cause a student to respond to how they feel about crime and violence. So they may have to draw a poster depicting a child going through X or something that has other skills attached to it, but it's related to their feelings, okay? What are they learning about it, all right? And the psychomotor has to do with hands-on. What are they constructing, okay? And usually this has to do with touch, what they're doing. So it could be drawing, it could be that they have to pin up things, it could be that they have to, it's very tactile in nature, okay? Which is what psychomotor is about. Put together some pieces, they could order, sequence a particular, they might be doing paragraph writing and you want them to sequence, you have your cartridge paper and they're probably putting things in sequence. That's psychomotor.
Are those you all three in one lesson? And it depends, I guess, on your topic.
It depends. What I think is hard is the balance. I don't think you can necessarily always achieve a balance, but I think depending on what you're doing, you will be able to get all three. Because if they are in group work, creating an essay together, that's psychomotor as well. It's something that they have to be doing something tangibly for it to be psychomotor. So really, you do want them to always be doing something, because for us to be always the ones doing, so you probably do it. So it's accepted. It's accepted because it's something tangible. What you don't want is a situation where all they do is writing, and especially if you carry them through the stages of writing, where they have to move in different ways, do different things. Yes, you could look at that. If they just have to come and put something on the board, you could look at that active. That's something that they're doing. Okay.
Dr. Spencer, does every topic lend itself to achieving all three of these?
That's what Ashley's asking. Here's what I would say. Naturally, cognitive tends to get the major plug, because that's how we have been socialized. That's how we've been taught to teach generally. If you do think about it, so what I find, and certainly when I'm assisting the students that I supervise, I will say to them, what comes naturally first is what you put first. What's the idea that naturally flows from you when you're trying to teach a particular topic? After that, I will say, okay, how can we add a psychomotor domain to this? Not because, so in other words, because what the educational research says is that the three elements are needed to provide a balance. Are you with me?
Okay.
So you try to pull it in, even if it's one, you try to pull it in. That's what I would say. I would not have a problem with understanding that it naturally doesn't flow out of every time you create an idea for a lesson. Okay, I think what they're running away from, Lyra, also, which I know externals look at with our students, is that they're running away from a situation of traditional teaching. If I only have cognitive objectives in a cognitive domain, yeah, it means I'm focused solely on structure and knowledge. The student is actually not actively engaged in that lesson. And that's really,
Okay.
if you think of it that way, that's what we'd be running away from, as opposed to trying so hard to come up with 2 or 3 or 4 psychomotor. That would be, too many. And it also depends on the level, because at primary stage, I can see psychomotor being a heavy domain at the primary stage. First form, it gets harder as you advance levels. Yeah. Okay. Hold on, I'm just. Oh, okay. Vernon, you still with us? Oh, geez, what am I doing? Okay, I've lost everybody and I don't know what I've done. Okay.
What time is it?
It's only 20 to 6, so don't run me out yet. Lyra, everybody else, are you there? No, I don't want that.
Yes, we're all there.
Okay. Okay.
Vernon is there also, but
Alright, now for some reason, I did some.
his mic is off.
I'm only seeing those who are speaking like you are. Anyway, I'll work with it for now.
I'm here.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, man. I'm hearing you.
Out there in space.
Say that again, Vernon. You break up sometimes when you speak. Can you say that again?
No, I'm just thinking aloud how to fit in all of this. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so let's hope when I get to the exam frame, you'll be able to see how you can, yeah? Okay, so assignment 3, I was asked to speak to assignment 3, and I did not realize, so I have to apologize, I did not realize that the template wasn't attached to your course outline, because if you notice, the lesson plan is there, but not the unit task, so that the unit plan, so that's my bad. Additionally too, which is, when I was, and I think it was Lyra who said it to me, the truth is when we were going back through this, because this course is run in 2 ways, it's run with DipEd students or MAT students, and it's also run with undergrad students. And we tend to shift the demands based on the group that we're dealing with. And I think at the time, there were certain things that we had pulled out of it. So for an undergrad student, there are certain expectations that would be different for you that would be, so it's the same course content, but expectations for students are different because you're at a different level. Okay, so consider a postgrad diploma for those stopping at that level, or a master's of arts, as you know. So let's go to the unit plan. So what you will get is, you'll still get the template, but the template will just fill in these spaces. This is exactly how it will look, but it will just give explanations attached to it. That's right, all email, okay? Are you, no, I didn't see that. Okay. So some of you are on RVLE, I realize, but some of you are not. And what I've decided, I don't know if it's a great decision, I'll find out in time, but the truth is, as I said to you all, it's very difficult. It takes a good 2 to 3 hours to pull everything together on the RVLE. And I'd still have to be looking for things all over my email, as well as on my junk drive, etc. If I had done this at the start, which is what we usually do, that's not a problem, but it takes time to set up. And Ms. Mills had sent out an email to everybody, I believe like last week or a week before, indicating that they could access. But I sent an email explaining to her that at this point in the course, it's a bit late to try to be activating all of that. By the time you guys get on, you also will be gone, right? And it's a lot of work for me that I don't know if I can manage to do. So we'll work with the email, and what I'll say to you is just send me, as we've always done, just send me queries if there's any problem.
No, sorry, should we write this down, or are you going to send
Nope, you don't need to write it down, right? 1, you're going to get the PowerPoint, and 2, you're going to have the template. So this is the template. We're going to discuss that. Okay, it won't be due next week. It won't be due next week. It won't be due next week. You can hand it in, but I think, yes, it will have to be due. Because, and it can be, it's okay. We'll work it out. Okay, so what you have is the introduction. And in the introduction, you give a basic synopsis of what your unit plan is, how is it's focused, okay? So of course, you're bringing in the CLT approach, you're bringing in people like Himes and Halliday, anything that's related to what you've chosen to do, okay? And then you speak generally to your types of activity. That again is going to come straight back to your CLT. Supposing, for example, most of your activities are group oriented, then you'll bring that up. That a number of the activities are centered around group work because collaborative learning is a major part of blah, and you continue, okay? Brief synopsis, okay? Brief synopsis, not more than a page, certainly.
Oh,
not more than a page, yeah. So in all, based on current realities, you need the time. You need the time. Some people can do it, but some people may need the time. So we'll give the benefit of the time. And I'll address something. I can't address everything at once. I'll speak to something when I finish on a matter of time. Okay? Theme. We have been saying throughout that when you have a topic, which the topic would be like descriptive writing, you also need to, in addition, have a theme. okay? Because the theme is really what is stirring the interest and stimulating the student.
Right.
The topic is really for you and your instructive purposes. They should know what they're doing, no problem, but we use the theme to focus, okay? So that's what theme refers to there. Whatever you come up with that's going to cause a student to focus on this idea or concept, that's the theme. So very long, but yes, yes.
Agriculture
Yes,
knowledge,
no problem.
prophecy.
No problem. Yes. Okay? So it could be anything like that. Death and decay could be, that's heavily literature, so let me try to stay language. It could be looking at, it just came to my mind and just went, how we deal with death. You know, what is life to you? Who am I? That kind of, you know, those kind of thematic focus points. But please do not feel that it has to be a text-bound theme. You can come up with your own themes based on what you're teaching. Indication of time, 4 months, 1 term, which is the time you're looking at. Group, whatever group you decide on, 7, 8, 9, or primary, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, whatever you're looking at. You determine your own group, so you decide, because different people are comfortable with different groups. And we have a variety in this, in the class. Okay, Sonia, we'll have to talk about yours. General objectives, as they are, okay, everybody should have an idea of what general objectives are based on just your practice. All right, but these clearly are things like appreciate and demonstrate and not things as specific as draw and define. Okay, so they're general. When you look generally at the unit, what do you expect? The identify can work as a general, yes. What do you expect the student to come out with? That's what you're thinking about. Activities, you make a list of 5 activities for each month. So you're literally going to have activities. Some people have done this in a tabular format. Some people have dealt with it literally as it is written here. That's totally up to you. Not everybody's skilled with tables, and not everybody likes to see things written as you're seeing it up there. As long as you stick to the categories, because that's where the mark scheme is connected. The mark scheme is connected to the categories. So you can't decide that your introduction is going to become rational. With me? Because I'm looking for the word introduction. That's going to tell me, okay, here is the information I need. You can't decide that you're going to just leave out indication of time, because I'm looking to see these markers as points where I'm going to begin to mark you based on the category, and you don't get marked for indication of time. Okay, after the activity, so you're listing it. So month 1, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, activity types. You're going to get 2 samples. I'm going to send you 2 student samples. Not quite, not quite. No, not quite. No, don't find my students, Sonia. It's not a mini curriculum either. This actually is quite, when you see what I send you, it's quite simple. 4 or 5 pages max. Shouldn't be going over that. But as I said, I'm going to, so what you'll see is I'll send you 2 unit samples of students who have done the 5106, and I'm only sending it to this group because I think in some way, I think I know you all enough. Why I'm saying that, I don't do it with every group, because some people just take what is in the thing, regurgitate, and put it as their own. They've done it, and I'm not believing that I would know since I gave you the can. But anyway, so they've done that, but I'm giving it to you all, so you have 2 different ways that students would have done this, okay? So the assignments, you have 3 assignments per month for 4 months. These, of course, are all to reflect the CLT approach. That's the purpose, that's the point. And I'm connecting the activity, the objectives, the activities, and the assignments, along with the resources, are all needing to be linked straight back to your theme and straight back to your introduction, what you say you're looking at. Is that clear to everybody? So what you will get via email is you'll get just a quick explanation of those categories and the mark scheme beside each. Yep. All right. This side, because I've lost all my pictures, I don't know who is with me. So Lyra, Kira, Vernon, are you good to go?
I'm here.
Yes.
Okay. So of course, it, as expected, when you get the outline or the explanation connected to the template, and when you get the samples, you may have more questions, and you feel free to talk about it then. The only thing I don't allow, please,
I'm not expecting it from this group again, but just saying it. Don't send me the assignment and ask me for feedback on the general assignment. I can't do that. Because that would mean that I'm grading your work. Clearly the feedback I'm going to give. It's different. And I'll explain how. You can send me portions. You can send me specific. But you know what I mean? When I say general, don't just send me and say, give me your feedback. That can't work. I've had students do that and think I'm unreasonable for not being able to do it. But clearly if I do that, I'm clearly going to give you all the pointers if I do something like that. And unless I'm doing it for every student, then that's out. So don't do that. What you can do is, for example, if your introduction, you have a few sentences and you want to make sure you're on the right path, send me the copy paste and give me a direct question, a very specific question. Can you look at, is that something I'm responding to, rather than me having to create my own response and giving feedback. So that, for example, yeah. Right. Psychomotor.
I am trying to construct my object.
No problem. Yes. Or do you think I have it right? Or is this representative of?
This look like a good.
Or don't just send the paragraph and say, Mr. What do you think? Because you understand, remember I have the content in my head. I'm bound to give you that, you know, and then that's me. That's not you. It's not reflective of you. Okay? All right. So what we've discussed is the timeline. I will send you, I need to speak with Ms. Mills one more time to confirm the concept of stretching it beyond. I do think that the exam date cannot be changed, okay? I do think you need a little time with it. And I do want you to, I would rather you concentrate on the exam for the next week or so, and then hand it in at a later date. I have to find out, remember you all started, this is what I wanted to remember. Matter of time, you all started in February 10th, I believe, to be specific, which is a good 3 weeks behind everybody else, okay? So when I give this assignment and I set a time, there's also the issue of things like assignments being too close. So theoretically, you set the assignments because you're trying to work with a time frame. But if you think of how you all learn and processing, sometimes you just need a little space before another. I'm not saying people cannot hand it in next week. That's totally up to you. If you want to hand it in, remember we're doing it via email, so that's absolutely fine. But I'm saying I would rather you focus right now on the exam. What I need to clarify with Ms. Mills is normally we must finish all coursework pieces prior to the exam. Okay? But I'm pushing for the fact that this is not normal because we started 3 weeks later and there were a number of upheavals in the delivery, in the access to and delivery of. Okay? Agreed? Kira, Lira, Vernon, agreed?
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
So it's just a matter of speaking with her to find out what the university will allow and how we can, but it certainly won't be due next week. The point of next week is to give you a time off, not to have you focused on getting an assignment in 2 weeks. All right, so Sonia, stay with me. Don't bring in the other ventings. I'm trying desperately to control this part. Okay, guys, last thing. You are still rubbing up the eyes. Last thing. Okay? Huh? You're going to be fine. Here's the final examination. Vernon, take notes and let me know anything that you think you need more plugging in or you need me to address more. So we know that the exam is for 2 hours, okay? If they have not printed the papers yet, I'm likely to add an additional 10 minutes, and I'll explain why. The date is May the 5th. 4 to 6 is the tentative time. I assume everybody is okay and available at 4 to 6, and so that's the easiest time to set the exam, rather than setting it in a day. I'm correct? Yes? Okay. Well, that's what I'm asking. I mean, we can negotiate. I don't know if we can negotiate. I don't know if it's printed yet, but we can discuss whether or not. Because people have work, I assume, and that kind of thing.
So we're going to be over there?
Place is not yet known. I'm still awaiting a response. I should not be invigilating the exam on this end, clearly. I have no idea if I am expected to be there. Certainly, I'm expected to be there for the first half an hour of the exam to ensure that everything is okay.
I'll check the paper, make sure students don't have any questions. But outside of that, I really should not be doing this. Okay?
Getting this right.
Everything. You don't have to write down anything. Okay. Treat it good, guys. Anyway, format section A and section B. That's how the exam is focused. I do have 2 past papers that I will send to you. I've already downloaded them. It took a while because I had to find the container. What you will realize on these past papers is they will say EDLA5106, not 5106. Bearing in mind that it's the same content for the undergrad. However, there's a section of your part of the exam that will change, and I will speak to you about that momentarily. All right, so section A and section B. In section A, you'll get a case study or scenario, which is why I've been focusing in that way throughout the lesson, the session today. Case study or scenario with 3 short answer questions. With me?
Yep.
All right, very similar to what we do in class. We're constantly talking about situations. Topic focus will be very general, okay? This is where we look at, you would be expected to know CLT, communicative competence generally, language and communication, and the general concept of a functional approach to language teaching. So this is a very general type of focus. Section A is a general focus. Everybody clear on that? We're not getting into the writing and the reading necessarily. You may use them as your own examples, but here the focus is general. It's very connected also to your blog. Okay? Your blog is connected to the blog. So the general, you know, the blog tended to be very general. For some of you, you started off generally and then you went into specifics, but most of you, they're just general. It's very general. Lyra is what kind of mosquito over there? That's a serious one. Okay. All right, section A is everybody understand. I hope it's not the chicken gun you want. Everybody understand section A. And you understand what I mean by general focus? Good. All right, so you're reading something, you'll be given a scenario, and then you're responding to the scenario based on the questions, and you'll be expected to focus on those items that you see in the topic focus. So those you have to know. All right, great. The communicative competence focus, remember, I'm saying to you, you can generally have an understanding of the 4 types, but we're not getting into them. So the communicative competence is as it's linked to all we've just spoken today about the person being able to function in different ways, that kind of thing, okay? Section B, you have your great essay, okay? I have not picked up that there's anybody with any major language skills, so I'm not anticipating that language structure should be a problem, okay? And that's based on my reading of your assignment. For your essay, I've not picked up that anybody in here, in our group, has major problems with language skills. That's usually the issue. Students fall down very easily in essay writing. Students from here. Okay, so because they can't express properly what they're saying using the language, there tends to be an issue. I don't see that I have that in this group. So you get 3 questions and you choose 1 question from the 3 questions. Okay, these questions will be focused on the following: oral communication, writing in the CLT classroom, reading in the CLT classroom. Now, assessment will not be a separate question, but you will need to have an understanding of aspects of assessment.
Anybody with a...
Sonia?
No.
Okay. Oh, okay, so you're being, for those here. Okay, everything clear, Salusha, everything clear?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm missing everybody's picture. I didn't realize it made such a difference to me, but it does. Because I can't see into your eyes. I don't know if you're following me. Anyway, yes, okay, so, great. So as I'm saying now, so when you begin your revision, you may have gaps, okay, and you feel free to send those questions when you do have them. But this is the format for the exam. If I do add on the 10 minutes, I'll speak with them. If I do add on the 10 minutes, it is because of the reading section of the scenario, to give you a chance to fully deal with the questions, okay? So it will be kind of giving you a 10 minutes to read the scenario itself. Okay? Definitely not. but it's a good thing to have. But I definitely didn't give you that. Okay, everybody good to go? Kerry, I know you came in late, but you feel like you're understanding? You feel like you're with me?
Totally understand. I'm clear.
Lovely. All right. Kira?
Yes, I'm clear. I think I understand what we got to do.
Hopefully you're feeling better and you don't have to wait till after the exam to talk about it. Okay. But I understand. I mean, I think that's normal for any student, right? Because you can feel a certain way and then the exam just totally pulls you out of that feeling. But I'm hoping that that will not be the case with all of you. And Vernon, you're good to go?
Yes,
Vernon is going to drive in from St. Elizabeth?
No, so in terms of Vernon, Kira, and Harry, in terms of all of you, really, I think I've done my best with communication. What I'm expecting to happen is that Miss Mills will contact you, okay, and let you know exactly what's happening. My impression is that Vernon, I figure you may have to go to a site. Again?
He's coming to Kingston.
Oh, okay, lovely. Well, if that's then that's fine. Okay, so the idea is everybody has to be at a site, and that the exam will be sent to the site. The rest of the specifics Miss Mills would have to indicate. So Leroy, you'd have to go to the site, etc., as expected.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Who said you haven't gotten it back? All right. And that's me telling you goodbye. Okay, we have to talk. All right, it was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
No, we'll talk about assignment after. Everybody, you've received your marks, so you just need to check your email. So we'll talk after. You received marks today. So I tried to close my class. Okay. So Lyra, Kira, Vernon, Kerry, Ashley, Sashana, Sonia, Shante in her absence, Norma in her absence. Honestly, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. It has been fantastic. You guys are great. You're a great group and you're great individuals. It has been great. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
It's been great.
Very interesting. Because I don't know why would I come leave Portland and come here. You really
I love the fact that you did though, right? And we missed you the time that you did. Ashley when she wasn't here as well. We missed Dharma. Anyway, the point is, you've been a great group. Actually, you can't wait until I finish saying bye-bye. God, right? Anyway, yes. So we'll be in touch, right? And please, just because we're not having a class next week, I don't want anybody starting to trail off on me. I want us to keep the momentum going. So yeah. Sonia is asking if we can Skype. You can Skype me as long as we're not having a 3-hour session. I'm good to go. All right. Anyway, blessings to you all and take good care, and we'll talk again soon. Yeah.
Okay. Good night.
Bye-bye. All right. Thanks, Ashley.
Bye.
All righty.